Hey everyone, I'm David Goldberg with Sarah McGoldrick, and welcome to another episode of Media Gold, a podcast by the Gold Clover Group. Today, we are talking about the top marketing minds you need to follow on social media.
So there's a lot of people out there who claim to be experts in marketing and social media and all those things. But there are very few, I think, that you can actually look at as examples of excellence.
Right.
Like you go on the internet all the time. There's all these people selling, like sign up for this sheet or sign up for this and for that, and they're just mining for emails, but they're not actually giving you information you can use. So it's important to take the time to actually, like I've said in the past, look at the clout these people carry, look at the results they produce. And so hopefully our list that we've put together can help people, find the right mentors, the right people to follow and, grow their own business.
Exactly. So you're going to kick us off here with Gary.
Yeah, Gary is like probably one of the most popular uh, marketing guys, digital media guys. He runs his own company, Vanyar Media. But he started off, like many people. His family were immigrants from Belarus. They came to the States in the late 70s. He was one of eight in a studio apartment in Queens. You can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine how tiny that must have been. But he started, by helping his family bag ice for $2 an hour, and then he helped
Nice.
his father's wine business, started an online wine blog to
Hmm.
help sort of promote what he was selling. And from that, kept leveraging it, using his expertise to help other people, and then build his own media empire. He's got YouTube channels, he's got Instagram channels, like he shares his knowledge. He wants other people to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what makes him so great. And he puts it at a level that anybody can understand. So I highly, highly recommend that anybody who's interested in growing their business follow Gary. And he lives by his ideals.
He sounds like a really authentic guy just when you're talking
Yeah,
about him because you talk about
yeah.
his immigrant past. So obviously, like, when people have overcome adversity and they're grateful for what they have.
Exactly. And, and he believes in putting his family first. So you hear about a lot of these like media moguls and type like that who, essentially abandoned their families once they got
Right.
famous and put, work first. He doesn't believe in that. It's family first, and then work. And he also doesn't care what other people think about him. Obviously, he understands the concept of branding and personal branding, but he knows that the haters can be, the best trigger for your own success. So,
Mm-hmm.
quote him, I put zero weight into anyone's opinion about me because I know exactly who I am. Can you say the same? Like how many of us have questioned what we were doing and maybe sabotaged our own success
Yeah.
because we were worried about what other people think. So, like Gary might be a bit over the top for some people, but when you,
Yeah.
when you sit down and you really listen to him, he is just one of the best examples of how to grow a business.
Right. That's so awesome. Yeah. The older you get, the less you care about what other people think about you. It's the
Yeah.
single greatest revelation you'll probably ever have.
Hmm.
So this next person we're going to talk about, Goldie Chan. She runs this firm called Warm Robots, and they focus on helping people manage their LinkedIn pages. And when you think about influencers and people going viral, you probably think instantly of just YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, and not necessarily LinkedIn. But LinkedIn's really changing. It's really starting to dominate the way people are trying to talk to their customers and reach their audiences.
It's much more dynamic. It's like taking what Facebook pages used to be and
Mm-hmm.
taking it to that next level, I think.
Exactly. And so back in 2017, where she worked, people were saying like, "Oh, you're so hilarious!" Like, "Oh, your social media game," and she was posting these videos on LinkedIn, and it was like stuff that you wouldn't normally think of putting on LinkedIn. She was doing rants like walking down the street, Rick Mercer style, talking about Harry Potter, and putting this on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden it was getting like millions of views. And now she runs her own social media firm Warm Robots, which I was talking about. And now she's like a keynote speaker, social media strategist. Um, she's been called the Oprah of LinkedIn by Huffington Post.
Mhm.
Now she's offering her clients social media strategy, branding, video marketing, content creation, all for LinkedIn. She's a regular writer, contributor to Forbes on personal branding and storytelling in the digital age. And she really speaks to that, I guess you'd say, like millennial, Gen Z vibe. Her articles, she'll be like, here's 5 marketing lessons we can all learn from Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy. So some really eye-catching stuff. But um, everybody knows LinkedIn has really gone to a focus on original video content, where before it was like, hey, I'm looking for a job, here's my resume, here's what I did at work today. So it's really shifting.
Yeah, like the joke used to be that LinkedIn was like Facebook for grown-ups, and now it's like a whole other level. Like people are using it, like it used to be, yeah, like essentially begging for a job, and you used to almost be embarrassed when you would change your LinkedIn status. Like you would on Facebook, oh, I went from in a relationship to single.
Yeah.
Well, LinkedIn, you'd go from like in a relationship with a job to not having a job. But now, I mean, the greatest thing you can do is change your status on LinkedIn to searching or, because you're offering up your talent.
And
So,
Facebook's really become that, like, now Facebook is like the Facebook for grown-ups. Like it's just like a bunch of
mhm,
old people like yelling at each other about politics. And what I really like about LinkedIn is it's not totally political free, but I do notice that people do try to leave
mhm,
politics out of most things, and they'll call you out and they'll be like, oh, this is not like a political forum. We're here to like bring
mhm.
each other up. So it's really cool to see that attitude.
Exactly. Yeah. No, anyone who can help people, leverage their LinkedIn presence are definitely worth following.
Hmm.
So the next person we recommend is Rand Fishkin, who's another entrepreneur, blogger, author. He is sort of the SEO guy. So he's the chief executive officer of Moz, who you've probably heard of, based in Seattle, that sells inbound marketing, marketing analytics, like all that real techie stuff.
Hmm.
Um, he got into the game sort of late. He started in 2002, um, and had to learn from like web forums. So essentially, his education, because I say he got into the game kind of late age wise, but um, early in the fact that some of this stuff was just beginning, and there wasn't anyone out there to teach how to do SEO
Right.
or how to draw people to your website. So he says he learned from web forums. Um, he's an author and contributor to co-founder of inbound.org, and he's a real master at controlling his own personal branding. So he may help businesses grow their business and develop their marketing plans and their SEO, but he's also a master at controlling his own branding, because in this digital forum, eventually you become famous. You become a celebrity. It's a
Hmm.
digital celebrity. It's not like a Kardashian, but you can get that kind of clout. And he actually told Wikipedia to remove his page. Um, he tweeted out,
Wow.
yes, years ago I requested to have my wiki page removed. Nothing worse for my reputation management than being subject to the editorial whims of Wikipedians.
Fair enough.
So there's a guy who, even though he works in digital marketing and is all about, generating business growth online, he's like, I don't want people telling me who I am or trying to, write my story other than me. So I think from a mentor perspective and a learning perspective, there's a lot to be taken in there.
That's really inspiring stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so another guy that was at the forefront of all this, one of the OGs of social media marketing ideas, is Jeff Bullis, entrepreneur, blogger, digital marketer. Sorry. You know, his work is featured in the New York Times, Huffington Post. His story is that he was between jobs, quote unquote, unemployed, around 2008, and he saw that there was like 70 million people on Facebook, which is kind of incredible. Think of that number because now it's like what, close to a billion, something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So he's like, how do we tap into this? And like nobody's really talking about this yet. So for $10 investment, he started his own website that was basically just like a forum and a blog to talk about ideas and how we can communicate on social media, increase our business, et cetera, et cetera. And now his site gets, millions of hits a year. He says his mission is to inspire and educate people how to win at business and life in a digital world. He has a really successful podcast, The Jeff Bullis Show. He interviews some like the top CEOs of the day to get their take on current business trends. And his blog, and we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, like make sure that these people are giving you something. They're not just mining you for your email and your marketing information. But this guy actually gives you tools and concrete tips that you can use to implement in your own business. Most interestingly, he did a recent post about how e-commerce is just going to explode, especially with the pandemic. And the one trend that we need to look out for right now is to help you stand out because it's going to be so competitive is the new domain names. So, it's not just like .com, .net, .ca anymore. You can actually buy stuff like, .fun, .tech, .store. So just finding new ways to stand out online so you can stake claim to some of these domain names that may have already been bought, but you can still stand out by getting one of these other extensions. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I like guys who take their success and share it. Share that, they don't treat it as like a competition and, try to hide all their secrets and that sort of thing. Like there's
Hmm.
that quote, when you reach the top, send the ladder back down. And I like
Yeah.
people who take that approach because I mean, you're not going to be around forever. There's always someone new who could maybe teach you something. I mean, the older you get kind of further removed from the new media or the newest and latest and greatest information. So if you're willing to use your knowledge and your expertise to educate others, then you're a success in my mind.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Our
So
next
next you're going to
person,
do Amber Nasland.
yes, our next person is Amber Naslin. She's an amazing woman who, like digital marketing is a tough field for women in general, and it's a very male dominated industry. You often hear about the tech industry in San Francisco being very male oriented, and women
Yeah.
don't seem to be able to break that glass ceiling, as they say. Well, she's been able to do that. She's built her own consultancy business. She's breaking those ceilings. She's helped, with major fundraisers and corporate communications and marketing and that sort of thing. She's run, not just small, but multi-million dollar campaigns for executive corporate, communication teams and international brands. Fortune 500 companies turn to her. And how often do you hear of that? Usually you hear that they reached out to some, marketing master guy
Hmm.
and she has totally uh, bucked that trend, and people now turn to her. And she's fascinating as well because she's another person who's taken her experience, sorry, and transformed it into a learning experience for others. And she said something really interesting. She writes for Medium, and she said this was essentially writing a letter to herself,
Hmm.
talking about her success and how she got there and what she had learned, and sort of saying, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. So she says, you picked the wrong partner, you ignored your gut about all the signals that you were overcomplicating, you ignored the market and didn't quite get what you were trying to do. Dauntless, you pressed ahead anyways, maybe a little too determined to prove that you were more than just a marketer. But allow yourself to make mistakes and to learn, to grow, without being too hard on yourself. And that's just it. It's another where people are, particularly women, are so hard on themselves and second guess themselves on just about everything that they do because they're taught to please. And
Right.
she uses her expertise and her knowledge, again, to show men and women this isn't just a female story, that you're allowed to make mistakes, you're allowed to learn, and don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean, whenever you're starting a new venture, like a website or a business or anything, you should save some snapshots of your progress as you go,
Mhm.
because you pull something up that you made 6 months earlier and you'll cringe and you'll laugh at yourself, but
Yep. What was
you'll
I
be proud
thinking?
of yourself for how far you've
Mhm.
come and how much you've learned. It's really
Yep.
cool. And finally, Anne Handley, so Chief Marketing Officer, marketingprofs.com. This whole website basically focuses on training courses for businesses and their owners, and they've really embraced, this whole like online seminar like weeks ahead, like come join us November 5th, 2 p.m., get all the latest information. So kind of like last week, we are talking about these online conferences. But Anne herself, a very accomplished keynote speaker, Wall Street journalist, best-selling author. A couple of her books, interesting titles. Everybody Writes, Your Go-To Guide to Creating Ridiculously Good Content, Content Rules. Um, but she put this really awesome blog post this week, just highlights like her cool thought process of writing, and again, giving you tools to succeed. But she had this whole anecdote about she wanted to sell some like old poop brown couches on Facebook Marketplace, and she just put the original ad as like brown couches for sale, come get them. And she's like, oh, I just got like one person responding. They're like, I'll take them. Will you deliver? And she's like, okay, I'll try it again. So she turned the poop brown couches into like pumpkin spice couches times two upholstered, gently used love seats in rich caramel hue. So one of those people, brilliant writers that helps
Mhm.
you with copy that kind of thinks outside the box and helping you like appeal to the senses, just looking at things from a different perspective. So just because somebody hands you like poop brown couches doesn't mean you have to write about pieces of crap. It's up to you to like turn things around and really challenge yourself to be a marketer.
Come up with some creative copy there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we hope you found these tips helpful, and that you'll follow some of these people we talked about today, and maybe they'll inspire you. And once again, as always, send us your digital marketing questions at www.goldclovergroup.com, or find us on social media, all the channels at Gold Clover Group.
And don't forget to catch us every Wednesday wherever you listen to your podcasts.